Hi, this is Gail Sokol. On today's show, we're going to talk about how to make a French vanilla buttercream frosting.
Welcome to Baking Radio. Learn the art and science of baking with author, educator, and award-winning chef, Gail Sokol. Whether you've been baking your whole life or you're brand new to the world of baking and you're looking to build your confidence and learn new skills in the kitchen, you're in the right place. This is Baking Radio.
So far, we've talked about many things on this show. My top 5 favorite baking tools, or how to prepare a cake pan for baking. So there's so many different things that we can do, but today we're actually going to make a really cool buttercream frosting. And this is a French buttercream. Notice I put the word French in there, and I just didn't stick it in there to be very fancy. I did it because it is a specific buttercream called French. And the reason that is a French vanilla buttercream is because it gets cooked in a certain way. There are simple buttercreams. There are many different buttercreams. I could have 2 shows on buttercreams. But this particular show, I wanted to show you my best buttercream frosting this is the one that students ask for. This is the one my kids and my family members demand for their birthdays. It is spectacular. So it's very rich. It has egg yolks in it. And it even has, all right, you didn't hear it from me, but it's got a pound of butter. A pound of butter. So it's pretty involved, but it's super easy to make. It's just not calorie free. So let's get started. And the first thing you want to do is you want to spray a liquid heat-proof measuring cup. So a liquid measuring cup. And you want to spray it with nonstick cooking spray or just sort of smear it with your fingers with a little oil. And you want to ensure that any sticky sugar syrup that we're about to make will slide out easily. And then in a saucepan, get a nice sturdy saucepan, something that is stainless steel, something that is medium so it won't boil over on you. You want to combine sugar, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 4 tablespoons of light corn syrup, and a 1/4 cup of water. And you want to bring that mixture to a rolling boil. And you want to stir it until the sugar dissolves. Now, it's going to look like it's volcanic. It's going to look like, when I say a rolling boil, I mean a rolling boil, like a volcano is about to overflow. That's why you want to use a nice sturdy saucepan that's good size. You don't want to use a tiny little saucepan, even though it's not that many ingredients. Now, the one cool thing about this, you don't want frostings to be gritty. You don't want to taste the grittiness or the granularness of the sugar. So if you add granulated sugar and a different type of sugar, which is the corn syrup, you're going to actually prevent crystallization from happening. And that's sort of a cool thing without getting into too much of the kitchen science, but it really works. So if you have 2 different sugars, it will actually prevent crystallization. So you're bringing this sugar syrup concoction to a boil. And while it's cooking, you're going to take your electric mixer. You're going to put in 6 egg yolks. Yes, 6 egg yolks. No whites. You're going to separate the eggs from the yolk, and you're going to save the whites for another use. And you're going to take those egg yolks, and on high speed, you're going to use your whip attachment, the thing that looks like a whisk, and you're going to put that on your electric mixer, and you're going to whip it at high speed, as high as that baby will go, until those egg yolks turn a pale yellow. And it will take a few minutes, so give it some time. If you see that your little volcano going on and your saucepan's getting too high, reduce it or take it off the heat for a minute until you get this pale yellow. Once you get this pale yellow and you've got your volcanic bubbles going on in your sugar syrup, you're going to immediately pour that syrup into your greased measuring cup. So you're going to take your saucepan, you're going to gently, remember this is boiling sugar syrup, this can burn, and you're going to pour it into your greased liquid measuring cup. Now, you're going to take your measuring cup with this hot syrup And you're going to slowly, and I mean slowly, drizzle it over the egg yolks. And you want to pour it down the sides of the mixing bowl. Don't pour it directly onto the whip attachment. The reason is if you do this, the sugar syrup will actually form caramel. It'll cool suddenly, and it will just stick to the sides of the bowl. Keep it going until you have all that hot syrup in your egg yolks, and keep beating it until all the syrup is in, and then put your saucepan aside. You're going to keep beating at high speed until the bowl on the bottom, and you'll be able to put your hands on that bowl. It'll feel super hot. You're going to wait and keep beating it until it gets cold. Not cold, but more cool. And you don't want it warm. You want it cool. So at this point, you should have taken 1 pound of unsalted butter. And I always use unsalted butter because I like to control how much salt I put in things. And I find a lot of baked goods are oversalted, and goods that are cooked are also oversalted. We use too much salt. So I like to use unsalted butter and make it very soft. So either microwave it until it's soft or leave it at room temperature for a couple of hours and make sure it's really soft. And you don't have to cut the butter. Just leave it in one big hunk, or if you bought it in sticks, just uncover each stick and put it on a plate. But the key is it must be soft. So you've got to be able to put your finger right into that butter, and it should go in super easily. If it doesn't, put it in the microwave. But again, use caution. Microwaves will melt butter very easily. And you can't use this butter if it's melted. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. So you really want to use it in a real softened state, not melted. So gradually, you'll see the bowl will feel cool to the touch. Once it gets cool to the touch, you will gradually take a little hunk of softened butter. Take it in your hands. Use your hands. My hands are my best tool, as are yours. And you'll take a hunk of butter and just throw it into the bottom of the mixer. And eventually, you'll see it'll get all incorporated and begin to get this fluffy and create this fluffy concoction that we know as buttercream. So you're going to keep doing this until the entire pound is used. But again, if those egg yolks and that sugar syrup is hot, it will melt the butter. And you're going to end up with soup but for buttercream. So we don't want that. Now, when you continue adding the buttercream, you may say, oops, something's wrong here. It looks curdled. That's perfectly normal, perfectly natural. And eventually, it will lose its curdledness and it will become much smoother once the remainder of the butter gets in there. Again, you're making an emulsion, and you're creating an emulsion with water-based ingredients and fat-based. And they don't usually blend together lightly. They're usually immiscible, right? They usually separate. Well, we're putting them together. And egg yolks are a fabulous emulsifying agent. Boy, do they do the job here. So they're going to get the fat-based ingredients and the water-based ingredients together, and they're going to combine beautifully. So you have this viscous, beautiful, fluffy stuff that we're going to use as frosting. So once all your butter is in and it's nice and soft, you're going to add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Do not get the artificial vanilla. Trust me on this. It tastes like cough syrup. You don't want to add it. It will give an unnatural, artificial flavor to your frosting. And you don't want to have that. We've used such beautiful ingredients here with fresh eggs, fresh egg yolks and butter. And you really want to use the highest quality ingredients that you can. So once the vanilla extract has been added, you can use it at once. If it is a little too soft for you, you can put it in the refrigerator for a little while. Now, the key to this beautiful French vanilla buttercream is if it is, you have extra and you don't want to use anymore, you can actually freeze it. And when you freeze it, it changes the texture. Just like if you froze butter, it will get hard. And once it comes out of the freezer, you would defrost it in the refrigerator. And then you might have to whip it up again in the electric mixer, but you wouldn't add anything to it. You would just whip it up just until it gets softened again and becomes more creamy and smooth. And once you get this beautiful French vanilla buttercream concoction, you are ready to frost your cake. But again, remember, you're going to frost a cooled cake, not a hot cake. All right, so at this point, if you want, you can use this as French vanilla buttercream. But let's think outside the box. What else could we add? Well, we could add some melted, cooled chocolate. We could add white chocolate. We could add semi-sweet chocolate or bittersweet chocolate or milk chocolate. We could add anything else we wanted. And instead of some of the butter, we could add some cream of coconut, so we can have a coconut buttercream. We can even add some shredded coconut at this point. We can do so many different things. And instead of vanilla extract, you could add almond extract. You could add any other extract or maybe a little liqueur to give a little something extra into your buttercream. So the sky's the limit. You can make a chocolate buttercream. You can make any flavor you want. And what I love to use French vanilla buttercream for, not only to frost my yellow cake layers, but I love frosting chocolate cake with it because I love that contrast. When you cut into that cake, it looks like a plain white cake from the outside with that beautiful frosting. But when you cut into it and you see those dark chocolatey layers, you know that cake's going to be amazing. You just know it. So today we learned how to make a spectacular French vanilla buttercream frosting. If you want this recipe, you can go to bakingradio.com and download it. And I know you'll want it to frost all your cakes. It's wonderful. Next week's show, we're going to be making a fudgy chocolate cake, and we're going to be using the one-stage method.